So here we are. We've been talking about this week about this dynamic tension, you could say, between the self and the self view and the not self view. All right. So the Buddha made use of opposites as a means of seeing things more clearly. So in seeing anger, we can also see when we're not angry. When anxiety is present, we also can see when we aren't anxious, when anxiety is not present. And when we get good at seeing the self, then we can also start to see when the self is not present. Opposites pull us in different directions. So how do we resolve the tension between self and not self? When we take in opposites, we can feel how the mind is working to try to resolve the problem. Puns and jokes and word games often use and create double entendres, double meanings, double understandings, two interpretations for the same thing. So we know this in picture form, optical illusions. I'm going to pull two up for you. And they're really common ones. So here, let me just share this. Hold on, let's go to share. Okay, so now go to this. Boom. Optical illusion. So what are you seeing right now? Do you see two faces or do you see a goblet? Right? And once you see one, you've seen the other. Or once you've seen both of them, you can't not see both of them. So here's another one that's a little harder. A young woman or an old woman? Can you see them both? Again, what's so hard is once we've seen both of them, we can't not see them. The mind keeps flip-flopping between the two images. That's how the mind is. Okay? And this is kind of what's going on with self and not self. Both are true. Both are going on all the time. It just depends upon what perspective we're taking. So this, what we're doing with these conundrums is actually we're learning how to see both and, and that is what that perspective does. Is it gets us out of the binary position that we find ourselves most of the time in. It's this or that, this or that. No. It's this and that, this and that. And when we open to seeing both, well, then we are moving out of the narrow straits, you could say, of the self or of one position. There are different things that we can do to kind of encourage this. For example, dancing. Sufi dancing, there's this trance dancing that they do. They're called whirling dervishes. I'm sure you've seen them. Ecstatic dance. And the dancing itself, you dance around and around and around, and over time, you lose the sense of self, and all that comes into view is this movement and this experience of being in something and a part of something, not separate, right? But you stop the dance and there you are again. Well, the other night we were out with friends, first time back out, and we were outside and there was music playing, and it was really, I haven't been outside and heard music in a long time, and I just wanted to move, so I started dancing. And when you first get up and you start dancing, how you kind of can feel like, oh, there I am dancing, right? But a song or two in, and suddenly it's just like we're dancing, like we're just in the movement itself. And Susan has fallen away, and there is just the body moving and the sound and other people, and there's a sense of being a part of, right? There was no effort for me to get out of my way, none whatsoever, because I was enjoying myself, right? Now, there's another way in which this happens. When whenever we kind of get engrossed in an activity, in positive psychology, they call that state a flow state. When we get so engrossed in our work that we lose sight of ourselves and we're just in the activity itself, right? Until we come up from air like, whoa, a couple hours have just gone by and I was completely absorbed, right? This is what happens when we kind of lose that sense of self and open into something very different. So how do we shift into this both and perspective and out of this sort of more dualistic perspective? This is what mindfulness is actually teaching us to do. It teaches us to move out of the narrow straits of a self. Susan, I like this, I like that, don't like this, don't like that, this is right, that's wrong, into look at all of this happening. No control, but look at all of this happening. We know to do this when we're taking a picture. We hold up the camera and we decide, we can decide on what it is we want to take a picture of. Now, granted, nothing has changed in the scene, but I might move from focusing on a single object to opening up to a panoramic view. Just with a slight shift of perspective. This is what mindfulness is doing. It's teaching us this skill. So what view are you peering out from? Do you know? Check. And how do you know that you're in your perspective? That's an interesting one. How do you know when you're in your perspective? Maybe you might sort of sense into that little bit of contraction that goes on. Like when we're thinking about something, when we're thinking really hard, how we furrow our brow, how we squint our eyes, how we hold our breath or our body just a little tighter as we're zeroing in on something. Mindfulness is actually inviting us into a softer gaze. It's suggesting that the body yields to what's happening such that it can stay upright in a more fluid and dynamic way. Not like a rigid board, not like a statue, but where there's some give and play. Because this is not a statue. This is a living organism that is being placed into a position. The body being placed into a position and the heart mind being placed into a position. Not a fixed one, but a dynamic one. We're going to slowly wobble. We're going to wobble a little in and out of that view. And we try to re-soften the gaze. We come back to the holding environment. We soften the gaze again. We're learning how to do that. We can do that also from different vantage points. One of the things that I learned when I was a kid, we would often go swimming at the ocean, and whenever a big wave came that really scared me, I would drop down, crouch down underneath the water and let the wave pass over me, so that I didn't get caught up in the wave, and that helped me to sort of stay steady. And you'll hear, like Bill often say, drop down beneath the thought stream. Well, can we drop down beneath the waves of thoughts, emotions, stories of who we are and enter into the experience of this body, the pulsations, the vibrations, feeling the body breathe? Breathing is a physical thing. It's not a mental thing. It lives in the domain of the body. So we can learn to rest attention in these physical sensations and vibrations and pulls until the storm passes. That's a great gift, to get out of the storm of the mind and drop down into the body and just feel how the body is tight and gently try to soften around that tightness just to keep the body comfortable while the storm is passing through. Oh my goodness, such a relief. But we can also go in the other direction. We also can pan out as if we're like in an air balloon, or looking out over the vast expanse of a valley. We're at the top of a mountain looking down over the valley, and we see the whole of what's going on. We can look down, we can see ourselves, we can see our bodies, we can see the mind, and no, they're not in the foreground. They're just a part of the whole scene. We can rest our attention there in that larger perspective and not get caught up in our little drama. Let that drama subside a bit. These are dance moves that we're actually learning in the practice. Learning how to shift out of these tight, contracted places. And when we feel that contracting, right? We just come out of it. We notice that the mind has wandered away into an upsetting thought, and we take a breath and withdraw unwise attention from that thought, come back down into the body, and we feel that body as it's like tightening up, and just try to soften and breathe around that tightness and just stay right there in the physical sensations until it subsides. Well, this is good practice. This is really good practice. And so this is what we're training ourselves to do, is learn how to be a little bit more fluid in shifting in and out of these places. All right. So let's play with that today. Let's play in our meditation practice of every time you notice that you've kind of, the mind has wandered away, can you come back and let everything soften around that and come back into a softer, wider perspective. Let the body relax, let the gaze relax, and just allow those thoughts to die and fall away on their own.